Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the Compassionate, the Merciful. My name is Ibrahim Hooper. I'm National Communications Director with the Council on American-Islamic Relations. Thank you all for coming today. We'll try and be quick with this, but basically we're here to call for immediate action on the part of the Obama administration and Congress on this ongoing Syrian crisis that has really gotten out of control. We have a number of speakers. I'll call them up in no particular order. We'll begin with CAIR National Executive Director Rasheed Ahmed.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Good morning, and thank you all for coming. Earlier this month, airstrikes by the Assad regime killed more than 100 people shopping at a market in Douma. That massacre is just one of countless massacres that have been conducted by the Syrian regime against the Syrian people. The destruction and death and displacement of the people of Syria are of great concern to the American Muslim community and should be of concern to the world community. Unfortunately, the inaction and the indifference and apathy of the world towards the Syrian crisis, the Syrian refugees, have been not met with any serious action by the world community. I am very concerned personally because when I looked at this image, I tried to avoid looking at it myself several times, like many of you. But I decided to look at it and awaken my conscience, because this image is haunting the conscience of the world community. Aylan Kurdi is a 3-year-old toddler. His image is haunting the world's conscience. But there are 30,000 people, 30,000 children like him died. And we have not seen their images, and we forgot about them. More than 300,000 people in Syria have been killed. We have not seen their images. And they have been haunting us. Today, this image has been, and I hope that it is the defining image of the Syrian conflict. I hope that this image is going to be an iconic image to awaken our interest in defending the Syrian people, in protecting the Syrian people, in ending this crisis in Syria. So in short, as an American citizen, as an American Muslim citizen, I ask the Obama administration and Congress to work with key allies to establish one or more than one no-fly zone to protect the Syrian population, to provide protection for humanitarian aid, and also to prevent the Syrian dictator from continuing to kill and maim and force his people out of their own country. Today the world is suffering, especially in the West, in Europe, from the influx of so many refugees. We could avert this by preventing this crisis from continuing. And we appeal to the Obama administration that you can do a lot to help the Syrian refugees. And this is not only in the interest of America, it is in the interest of humanity. Thank you.
Next, we'll have Suzanne Meren with the Syrian-American Council. She's the Director of Operations.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm going to speak on behalf of the Syrian-American community, and we absolutely applaud CAIR for standing by this notion of the no-fly zone. This is something the Syrian-American community has asked for since 2011. We know if a no-fly zone is established, it will help create a positive reaction on many aspects, but the number one aspect would be to stop the barrel bombs that are dropped down on Syrian civilians, from the Assad regime. And these bombs have caused the death of hundreds of thousands of people. It has also caused the displacements of 11 million people. And, this is an example right here. This child was one of these people displaced that had to flee Syria to find a better future. And unfortunately, a lot of death is happening there because of treacherous waters and dangerous paths. So We thank CAIR very much, and we applaud them, and we hope that others follow suit. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll have Rasheed Ahmed, Chairman of Public Affairs for the Muslim Association of Virginia.
Good morning. My name is Rasheed Ahmed, R-A-F-I-U-D-D-I-N, A-H-M-E-D. You've been pointing to this portrait here many times of Elan Kurdi. His 5-year-old brother and his mother were trying to find their way to British Columbia, Canada. And their asylum application had been denied. But still, they took upon themselves to flee the country to find a safer place. That seems to be a story of many people in Syria who are suffering right now. Many of the European countries are being flooded by refugees. The atrocities by ISIL and Assad regime has created a situation. Death tolls and destruction has reached the numbers of World War II at this point. President Obama, you're among an elite. You're one of the 3 U.S. presidents, sitting president, who have received Nobel Peace Prize. And your Nobel Peace Prize was for extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between people. We urge you to use your leadership and establish a unified no-fly zone to give protection to the Syrian people and bring this human tragedy to an end. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Robert Morrow, Chairman of Government Relations for the Al-Dulles Area Muslim Society. Adams.
Thank you very much, and good morning. You know, when I look at that picture, it reminds me, my first assignment in the U.S. Foreign Service was to Malaysia, and one of my first duties was working with Vietnamese boat refugees. And seeing that brings back the memories of all the Vietnamese who similarly died because of, you know, not trying to flee a situation that was just impossible. It's something that we should not allow to repeat. Back then, it was very controversial in the United States whether or not the U.S. had the responsibility to continue to help people from Vietnam. We took upon ourselves to do that and to settle people, to have a program where we could effectively bring those people out and resettle them in a peaceful environment and give them the chance to live their lives. You know, I think we have an opportunity here not only to replicate that, but unlike in Vietnam where we could not go back and establish safe zones in that country, we can do things on the ground there, whether it's the no-fly zone, whether it's something else, but we cannot simply ignore those images. I don't think there's an American anywhere who has a heart who would not be absolutely devastated to see that. I've seen it in person. Don't let it happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Ramiz Abad, Communications Director for the Islamic Circle of North America, Social Justice.
Good morning. I have quickly just 4 points. Number one, we must realize that these people are human beings just like you and I. They have families, their fathers, their mothers, their daughters, their sons, their husbands, and their wives. And they are demanding nothing different than we would if we were in their situation. And may God protect us from being in such a situation. Now, just imagine for a second, for just being in their situation, it's terrifying to even think about. We would demand exactly the same that they are demanding today from us. And these people, these Syrians, they have right to basic human needs, to safety, food, and shelter, just like everyone else in this world. These are basic human needs that every human being needs to survive in this world. So we urge the U.S. government to take appropriate steps to alleviate the suffering of the Syrian people. And we believe this is a good first step of establishing a no-fly zone. And we think it's an effective step that will hopefully go in the right direction. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Shakir Alcide, Imam of Dar Al-Hijrah, a mosque in Falls Church, Virginia.
Good morning, everybody. I want first to thank CAIR for taking up this issue. It itches in everybody's conscience, whether you are Muslim or non-Muslim. Those images coming to us every day, and the ones that do not come, should really make us very uncomfortable going to sleep at night with hugging our own kids, knowing that some parents are losing their kids every second just to barrel bombs and dictatorship. One thing I would like to mention to President Obama: your CAIR speech must come to fulfillment. I hope you meant it, and I hope you fulfill it. Your CAIR speech about supporting democracy, promoting human rights as the central part of your agenda, especially in the Middle East. It is on your watch that the Middle East is being torn into pieces, and the United States is either watching or supporting one side against the other. It is time to stand against dictatorship. Our moral compass has to be cleared. We should not lose our moral leadership because we want more money for weapons, or we want to stand on political issues when blood is being spilled. This is immoral. Our silence is betrayal. Once upon a time, humanity said never again, but it keeps coming. It is time for America to have leadership. No-fly zone is all what the Syrian people are asking us to do, and it is not a big deal for a big nation to do. Thank you.
Next, we'll have Kristen Shremsky, Director of Media and Communication for American Muslims for Palestine.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'd like to also thank CAIR for convening this press conference today and inviting all of us here to implore our government on this very, very important issue. The magnitude of the humanitarian crisis created by refugees from war-torn Syria has not been seen since the Second World War. No parent would knowingly put their child into a rickety boat unless they felt the swelling sea was safer than the land. Human trafficking is adding tragedy upon tragedy. As mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers, our hearts collectively broke on Wednesday with the image of little Aylan Kurdi washed up on the Turkish shore. We cannot wait any longer to act. The American Muslims for Palestine, an national education and advocacy organization, as part of the community working every day on social justice issues, stands with and supports the Syrian call for a no-fly zone for the safe passage of refugees. We also call upon the administration of President Barack Obama to open America's borders to those who are fleeing the nightmare that they're witnessing and experiencing. Our position as a global human rights leader obligates Americans to open our doors and our hearts to those facing unspeakable tragedy. And AMP also calls upon the international community to help alleviate the suffering and poor conditions in the overflowing refugee camps in Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, and Turkey. You know, the media is picking up right now the story because it's impacting Europe. But for too long already, there are millions of refugees languishing in these camps in other countries. And I have to say also that AMP feels very strongly about this issue because the Syrian people have always stood with the Palestinian people. And there are many Palestinian refugees within Syria itself. But this goes beyond nationality. This is exactly a humanitarian issue that we all need to unite behind. Little Aylan, who has come to symbolize the thousands of refugees who have drowned at sea. He has come to symbolize that tragedy, but there are millions of refugees drowning on land in their refugee camps. We need to focus on this crisis too, and it is imperative upon the global community that we find the political will to end the Syrian catastrophe and the crisis in Syria. Thank you.
And finally, we'll have Amin Ezzedine with the Muslim American Society.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Peace be upon all of you. Thank you for CAIR for arranging for this press conference. As we have heard the news, and with the pictures that are coming through the internet, any human being cannot stay quiet. For almost 4 years, there is a regime that is so corrupt that is bombing its people with barrel bombs, indiscriminately killing civilians. They are using chemical weapons on many occasions, and chemical weapons are being used as we speak. And there are more refugees inside Syria. The people who have made it out of Syria, many of them are drowning and facing so many perils. But there are many more. Half of the population now are out of their homes because the cities have been destroyed by Bashar and his regime. 70 years ago, we said no more. When the Holocaust happened, the word said no more, not again. And again, in the 90s, we've seen Rwanda. The genocide in Rwanda happens. We forgot. And we've seen chemical weapons in Syria, just few, we see almost on the news, and we're just trying to be quiet. We're ignoring it. What's happening to our humanity? I think President Obama has made a commitment not to go to war unnecessarily, but sometimes silence is more dangerous. There are so many dangers that will come when societies are broken down. And at the Muslim American Society, we believe that there must be something to be done. We don't know what it is. The politicians should know it, but we cannot stay quiet. As Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, that a silent person in front of evil is like a devil. We don't want to be in that position. Thank you.